We're going to be going over today and just what the scope of the lecture is going to be. And that is we're finally going to talk about something called MVC. I think you've read some of this, but hopefully I'll add some clarification to what that is, why we do it, and how it works. What a web framework is, like Sinatra, or much better, Rails. And then we'll talk about something called convention over configuration. I'm going to go, again, over the soapbox toward the end to make sure that whether or not I hit it successfully, actually that sounded weird, whether or not I covered that topic well enough for your understanding. Thank you for all the people that got, yeah, sorry. I'm going to get fired. Implement one model, all right, that inherits from active record. So we're already starting to build on mod 1. Leaving mod 1 and finishing mod 1 and entering mod 2, there is going to be a requirement that you understand active record. If you do not, I'll be happy to drop some active record review labs that I think you should definitely do, but I don't have the time to like go over active record again. It builds right on top of it. So if you're kind of shaky, come talk to either Vera, Chris, or myself, and we'll bring you up to speed. But your active record should be money. Whose active record's like pretty money? It's like pretty money, right? Has many, belongs to, just like knocking out those attributes. Noise. Great. All right, so we're going to basically build one controller. We're going to build like a couple of routes. We're going to process some requests. No more of that rack stuff. This time we're going to be on a web framework, and you'll see that a lot of that hard-coded stuff is going to get abstracted. So in earlier this morning's lecture, we literally did a brand new request, a brand new response. We wrote what was in that response, and then we wrote response.finish. Like that is the conclusion of the response that'll go back. There'll be less than that. It's just going to be, hey, what do you want to send? And the rest of the framework will take care of the rest. Cool. So it becomes easier and easier to write. And then we're practicing understanding this file structure with Sinatra because it will build into Rails. This is the last time you will understand every single thing that is in your application. Once you get to Rails, so much Rails magic happens. It just becomes more about, great, how do I get it to do what I want it to do? And then as you have more free time, either ask us what something's doing or dig into the documentation yourself and like look into the source code. There's a ton to learn there, but it does become fairly complicated as things get refactored and extracted out. And then it just becomes you building what you want to build. Cool. Awesome. And then, man, if you could see the teacher notes on this, rest and CRUD. I'm supposed to hammer rest into your brains. It's going to take a while, as will CRUD. And we'll talk about what rest means. All right? All right. I'm just gonna talk to myself, but like look at all of you, like right into your soul for the next hour and change. It'll be great. Cool. So how and why do we use the MVC pattern? Right? Mapping these CRUD actions, that'll be fun. Conventional configuration, whatever. Let's dive right into it, right? So quick review, right? TCP, HTTP, HTML IP, and TCP IP. They're just fancy terms that determine, again, if it's a protocol, it's how something happens. What's the protocol? Like, what are we doing and how are we doing it? HTTP, the hypertext transfer, how we're sending that data back and forth, specifically the hypertext, right? Like, if I have HTML on my server, how do I get it to you? All right, that's what the protocol is. Goes through that powerful like internet wire, and then it goes like right into your house, right into your computer. It's amazing. Look at this. 1-star user experience, wires. Do you guys like wires?
No.
Yeah, it's the worst. I like charged my phone last night. It was at like 3%. And then finally, like I waited like the nice 20 minutes and it was like 40 something and I unplugged and like rolled over. Beautiful. All right. Great. Let's talk a little bit more about this MVC and what does it stand for. So does anyone have any idea what this like M, V, or C stands for possibly? 10 points to Gryffindor. Good job. So this model, right, you've already messed with this in mod 1, and that's going to be where all your data is stored. You're creating these classes, these blueprints, these objects. They're going to hold attributes and all of your data. Right? So you have like this dog, and it has like an age, probably like legs, like teeth, like a bark method, right? Pretty standard. All right, cool. So what does this V stand for? What is the V? What's this V about? Views, right? When you hear or like imagine this word view, what do you think about? Like, and what does it mean as it pertains to like a website?
Visualization.
Right. Like this is what I'm viewing. This is literally what I'm going to see. So you have all this code that we're going to write, Sinatra as a framework. The view is going to pertain to literally the response, the HTML that we send back to the user, because then the HTML is going to get parsed and understood by the browser, whether it's Chrome or Mozilla, and then they're going to see something. They're going to see a view page. Is that starting to make sense? And then lastly, this part is just like really weird to describe, the controller. It's everything that's in between. So you have data in the database somewhere, and you need to send back a view, some HTML back to the user. So the controller is literally this in-between. Right? You're going to get a fun lecture from either Chris or Vera about RESTful routing, and it's going to be about sushis. It's just like this fun PowerPoint slide that'll kind of go into it a little bit deeper. But the controller is just, the controller talks to the model, like, hey, I need some data, and then passes it into the view so that the HTML can see it. So do you remember when we made all those songs? I did like song.new and I just made a bunch of them. Okay, so the controller is going to interact with the model, like, hey, song.new, cool, let me grab all your songs. And then I'm going to pass it into the response. So in the H1, and then you had the UL tag, the unordered list, and then I made LIs for each one. The view is going to receive that data from the controller, right? Like all like 8 songs. Cool? Smart. All right, so let's do this. Ready? Let's talk about these deliverables. Let's get rid of this preview. Let's actually look at some code. Do you guys know what Markdown is? All right, cool. If I say things that you don't understand, this is the time to like ask me questions. I give like a lot of different lectures, so it's hard for me to know what you don't know. So don't be afraid to be like, oh man, I don't want to sound stupid. Like, yo, you've been here for like almost 4 weeks now. Like, nobody sounds stupid, right? Like you barely know.
What is Markdown?
Very good. Be good. All right. Markdown is just a type of language that allows you to mark up text. So if I do this dash with this star, what you should see in this, like when it actually comes through, actually, where is this? New model view controller. Look at this. Ready? Powerful. New. And then it creates these little buttons for me, like these little like list item things. Does that make sense? Yeah. And then like you see this is italicized, and it's because I added these like stars right between it, and that's how I italicize something. So Markdown is just a way to write up a document, and then it will come across as like I guess like a little bit sexier. So like something like this. Like if you guys were to go, have you seen this yet? A little shrug action right into your class. If I were to put like I think it's dash dash, like strike this boy. Nope, that's not it. Do you know what this? Huh? It's one? Oh, only one Highlander. That wasn't it. Ugh, I totally forgot. But I know you can italicize something like this. No, this is italicized. Yeah, that's it right there. And then you can throw a little star there. Bold and beautiful. Beauty. All right, cool. And so that's kind of the idea, except this time it's like in text. All right, so let's talk more about these deliverables and CRUD. What do you think CRUD stands for? I mean, you've done this in Mod 1, right? You know, answers on screen. Cool? Cool. It's funny. Like I watched a lot of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and I do it to myself. I'm always like, all right, cool. Only I said cool, and then there's just like a bunch, so it just sounded like that. All right. So we have this create, read, update, like destroy, delete. Then we talked earlier today about this get, post, delete, patch, put for those HTTP verbs. You remember this? All right. Sorry, your neck's hurting. I just want to check in. All right, cool. Let's just make up this website, right? Let's say I have this book website and it's called Barnes and Noble for like, obviously trademark purposes. Smart. And what I wanted to do on my website is some pretty basic functionality. And that is I want to view all of this information on an individual book, right? What route would you create for this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Book.
Okay.
Something.
Cool, right? So you're on the right path, right? But let me try to make this a little bit clearer. When I talk about RESTful routing, I'm talking about something called representational state transfer. So I have this capital R-E, S, and T. This is the best example of good convention for like acronyms I've ever seen. And that is you take the first two letters of a word and then just the first letter of every word after that. Cool?
Cool.
Don't do this, right? That's like bizarre. But either way, representational state transfer. So this right here, representation, what do you think that would mean in regards to a website?
Like a placeholder or something like that.
Kind of, right?
Sort of describe content.
Mm-hmm. It just kind of describes the content. It is the current state in which your application is. It represents the current state that your application is in. That sounds like bizarre, but let me give you an example, right? So for example, let's go to a powerful website. Oh, Espin. Oops, shouldn't have opened it that way, but who cares? You guys familiar with this website? The world leader in sports?
Yeah. Is that true?
I don't know, I just made that up. Like ESPN, I actually forgot what it stands for. Does anyone know? Yes, very good, okay. Huh? I don't remember. Something protocol. So either way, the idea is that this right here, ESPN.com, is the domain. Anywhere I go on this website, will ESPN.com change? No, right? Like let's just say I was like, I'm a basketball fan, and I was gonna go check out the NBA. How will this route be affected? Will it go to NBA.com? No, what will happen? It'll add some slash and something there, right? What do you think it will add if I wanted to see the NBA? Let's take a... Oh, wow! Wow! Look at this user experience. Cool. Slash NBA. That was easily guessable, right? And it currently represents what is on the website now. Only information about what sport?
Basketball.
Yes, basketball, right? Very good. Hashkeball will return in Mod 4, and it is rough. Either way, the point is, right, in the ESPN database, do you think currently on this website, even though it's not displaying, there is data in the database about hockey, right, baseball, basketball, and like, I don't know, soccer, football, the other football? Do you think the data is there in the database?
Yes.
Right? Heck yeet, you know what I'm saying?
No.
Oh, all right, sorry. I read a Reddit thread about like how to be cool with your students.
How old were these students?
It was like, help, I'm a 31-year-old biology professor and I want to be relatable to my students. And like the threads in there were ridiculous. It was like, tell them you beat Fortnite. And I was like, yeah. And then just walk in one day and just be like, yo, I'm your professor. It's me, chef. It's your boy RD. And I was like, this is me. And then it just said, say yeet a lot. Yeet. I don't really know what it means, but I'm sure I could Google it. And I will not be Googling. I will not be Googling it on the recording. This is a private thing I will look up later, like an idiot. So the point is, right? I went to the domain ESPN, and I looked at trying to get information about the NBA. This represents currently on the ESPN's website the data only for the NBA. So if I was thinking about REST, what is being represented on the page right now, the current state of ESPN @/NBA is only information about the NBA, even though I actually have information about everything else. This is just currently what's being represented in the current state of my website. If I wanted to look at, I don't know, NBA and just look at, say, I don't know, scores, what do you think will happen to this route?
Another slash something.
Wow, NBA/scoreboard. Why did it not just go to /scoreboard, but it went to NBA/scoreboard?
Because it started in that. They're related.
They're related.
Only showing scores for basketball.
It's only showing the scores for the NBA. Let's just see what's going on. Do you think I can just hack this bad boy? Look at this. Hacker man. Wow. NFL scoreboard. So this right here is very easy to navigate, very easy to understand. The current state based on the route that I have of my website. Is REST starting to make a little bit more sense? Cool. Yeah, that was like really hard for me to explain, and I found ESPN. I was like, oh, this website's the best. It's not, but you know, for this example, I'm not obviously paid by ESPN, but I can be, just in case. So something I want to talk about: convention over configuration, and that is if I follow a particular convention, it is so much easier for me to build on top of that than it is if I had something that was custom designed. This is going to be really weird in the way it's abstracted, but let me put you this way. All right, the convention right now for ESPN is if anything has to deal with /NFL, right? I'm sorry, if anything has to do with NFL, I'm going to put that information under /NFL/something. That is a convention that ESPN follows. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so if you work for ESPN as a developer and like, great, I need you to add more details about the NFL, specifically about its teams, what route would you want to go to? Right, NFL/teams/ like some custom information that you want to add. Right? Because you're following this convention, it's so much easier to just jump in and add in more information or understand the code base or understand at least where to find data and information. Does that make sense so far? If everything was customized and not necessarily under a pre-configured state, and it was like, great, under the NFL, I'm just going to call it /Vera. And you're going to be like, that makes no sense. Do you think that anyone that wants to add information to the NFL would immediately think to know how to get that information? No, that is what is known as a custom route. And because it's not following the convention, it's going to a custom route. It becomes much harder to add on top of. So when you're first starting out, for convention over configuration, you want to follow what the convention is. And so you can add on things very quickly. And then as you build out the basic functionality, that's when you can start adding some extra custom routes. Right? So for example, like you want to have at least /NFL, /NBA, /MLB. And then you want like something like just /bloopers. Right? That's going to be a custom route that just collects all the bloopers from all the sports. That's going to be a little like trickier. That's like something that's kind of off to the side. But to build up initially, there's a convention you should follow in terms of like just the routing and how it represents your website, the current state of your website. Cool? So that being said, right, I'm at Barnes & Noble, right? Powerful, very unique name about a popular bookstore that I just invented. And on this website, I want to see all of the books in my database. What route do you think you would want to see all of your books?
/books.
Wow. I never would have guessed. Something like /books. Cool? Just as the route itself. Great. I'm sorry. Ooh, embarrassing. I want to see all the books. /books. Cool. How would I see information on an individual book? Knowing what we know about how ESPN was doing it, where it's like /NFL, /teams, and then maybe /players, because there are players in under a certain team. But it's weird though, right? If I were to go to ESPN and go NFL /teams /players, what would that list me? it would be every single player because I can't specify which specific team it is. Right? If I did NFL/Rams/players, I would get all the players for the Rams. So there's some sort of unique identifier there that tells me which team the /player should be following, right? So if I'm under something like /books, is there anything in our database that we can utilize that would tell us something about a very unique value that's assigned, possibly auto-assigned and auto-incremented, that we can use to pull specific books? An ID, right? Cool. Before we get any further, you had a question.
Oh no, you answered it. You're good.
Noise, right? Yeet, right? Is it working? Is it working? Am I becoming more relatable?
I think we should look it up.
Okay, yeah, all right. Okay, all right. I'm not becoming relatable. Got it. So I want to go to /books/what? ID, right? And there is a way that we can transform this so that it takes in any number, and it will transform that into params. And that's just going to be adding this like semicolon here. And I'll explain how that works here in a second, but that's kind of like the idea. What if I wanted to create a new book? This is where it gets a little dicey. Right? I want to create a new book. Just remember this request-response cycle. What route would I need to create a new book? Sounds like new. It does. Do I want to just put /new?
No, book/.
Powerful. So books, all right, I'm going to actually do this. /book/new. I keep saying that because if you forget this first slash, weird things will happen. So just always remember. Cool? All right, /book/new. What would this give me? Am I going to be able to create a book with just this route?
No.
Some of you are shaking your head no. And you are correct. Why?
Parameters.
Okay.
We have to post.
I have to post. So is this the post request?
No.
Wow, y'all did the readings, huh? Smart. So what's going on? What is this actually?
Getting the page.
Right. So here's the deal, right? In your Mod 1 projects, I hinted at this before, like you were like enjoying your weekend. It must be so weird, right? Like you're like, yeah, I met my new instructor. It's like this big Asian dude talked to us like 5 minutes and like ran away. It was kind of weird. And I said a bunch of stuff. But as a reminder, you don't have gets.chomp on the internet. Like never have I seen gets.chomp in the browser. So how do you take the user's input? Right, I need some sort of, right? I need some sort of form. I need to show the user like, hey, there's a form here, there's some like text input, and then they need to submit the form, and that submit actually will be able to create the book, because now I have the details of the book, right? So, it looks like if I want to create a book, there has to be how many requests? Nice, right, very good. Right, and the first one is I get the form, and the second one is I will take data from the form and use it to make a book. Powerful, right? So let's jump right back here. I'm just asking to see information on one book. What kind of HTTP verb will I be associated with this simple request for information?
Yeah.
Right, I do a get. Right, what about just viewing all the books? Noise. All right, cool. I just need to see a form that's going to ask me for data. What kind of request would this be? Who thinks it's a post?
To view the form, you need to go.
Right, just to view the form, it's going to be a GET request, right? And then you can imagine, right, I'm going to take the data, and then I need to submit it. That form itself, when it submits, is going to make a post request. Because now you're submitting data to the server, right? Probably the title, the author, maybe a short description. And then in here, what's the route? What should we do? Slash books. Anything else?
ID.
Slash ID. Well, think about it, right? You're inside this route. Right before you hit this route, do you have the book? Did the book get created yet? No. So do you have access to an ID? No. Right? If you know this is going to be a post and you're going to be sending data and creating something, do I need to be redundant and saying, hey, you're about to make something at the new? You're going to make a brand new thing at the new. Like, So I can make a post to slash new, which should be completely different from a post to slash books, which is completely different from a get to slash books. They're different routes, and they will do different things. Does that make sense? So simply to create for the CRUD, for the C, I need two separate requests. This is going to give me the form, and this takes information from the form and then creates the book. Cool? All right, let's delete some of this extra space. Oh, look at that. Powerful. Cool. Great. What about edit? Edit's very similar in the same way as this create. What would I do? Do I make a patch request right now?
Yeah.
First, I need what? First, I need a form that has, exactly, that has the data for the book to fill out, right? So this is just be a get to slash books slash ID, because I need to know which one I'm updating, right? And then this is going to be, because I already have a get to books ID, right? And it's right there. This is the individual book page. So in order to kind of make this just slightly different, I'm going to be like, hey, let me edit that bad boy. Cool?
So basically each book has added page.
Yep.
Depending what ID you add, you added a specific book.
That's correct. All right, so the question was like, for each edit page, there will be a specific ID interpolated in here. Cool? And then, what should I do now? Should I post? Stop the madness, right? I need a little patch action. To where? Slash book slash, because I need to know which one. Right? Awesome. And then boom. That actually is technically this update function. Cool. We'll go into that. And then what do you think delete is? Wow. 5-star experience, right? A delete to slash, come on now. Y'all killing me here. Slash books, because I need to know which book to delete, right?
You have to get it first, or
That's the tricky part, right? Why does delete not have a get?
because you specified the specific ID that you want to delete.
It's already there.
Yes. Yes. Think about it like this, right? Let's just say you're on Instagram, right? I'm not on Instagram, but let's just say you are. I'm not a very attractive looking man. I play to my strengths. I'm on LinkedIn. All right. So if I wanted to delete one of the images on my Instagram, right? Do I need to go to a page that says, do you want to delete this? Or is there just a delete button in the corner that's like, great, on this particular image, it's like you can hit the delete button and then it hits the server with the delete route and then it disappears and then just shows you like something else like, hey, great, good job, you deleted it.
On the GitHub, it does have another page for delete. It depends on the interface, I guess.
It does depend on the interface, right? Specifically for RESTful routing, you just need the delete. And this will make more sense as you get a lecture from the powerful Mike Chang, who is going to complete like the rest of Sinatra with you guys. And then I'll come back and then kick your teeth in with Rails, yeah? Yeah. It'll be great. It'll be great. And by kick your teeth in, I mean like Rails. Okay, all right. Like the last class, for whatever reason, they just jumped right in and started chanting. And then Brandon thought I started a cult. All right. This class is a little different. Yeah. I can see that.
You don't need one.
All right, cool. Good deal. All right, so these are like the RESTful routes. What we're going to do is I'm going to build you like the index and the show just so you can kind of understand and see that. But before we get to the code, I just want to solidify some of these definitions because they were kind of just me explaining to you in layman's terms, but just so you can have the more computer science like official definition and just be more technical. You need to be able to explain what everything does, like the ELI 5. You ever heard of this? Like explain like I'm 5. You need to be able to do that, and then you also need to be able to speak technically. You'd be surprised how many times in an interview they will like ask you, it's not my favorite part of interviews, but they'll ask you like just technical things. Right? They'll be like, great, like how would you define Ruby's scope? You'll be like, I know what that is, but like what is it? And you're kind of like, you're trapped, right? But just so I can give them to you so you have them, and you need practice speaking like this, and the only real way you can get good at it is to just do it. So when you're pair programming, start talking. Don't be like, oh, that thing in the file. You're like, come on now, stop playing. Like, I need to go into the model, all right, and just start using that. It's going to be good for you, all right? So speaking of which, model. It's the interface to view and modify the data, all right? We're going to be working on that. The view is the operations that can be performed in the data, comma, the response to the client. That's the view. And this is either going to be the HTML or some data. And then the controller. The MVC pattern in a nutshell, right? The model represents the data and does nothing else. It's important because of the single responsibility principle. You only want one thing to do one thing. Once you start having it do multiple things, it becomes cloudy, because if the model is doing something and the controller does it and the view does it a little bit, where do you write the code? Yeah, me neither. Exactly. But if the model does this one thing and I have to do that feature, I'm not going to write that code in the controller. All right? And so it helps you self-organize as well. Cool. Ready? The model does not interact with the view. And this will make more sense here in a little bit as I like go through it. But just so you know, the model does not interact with the view. This will make more sense in a second. The controller does all the work. Great. Now let's actually talk about these diagrams. And then when we get to the code, we'll look at this again, and hopefully it will make more sense. Cool. Alrighty. Boom. Let's look at this. Great. You have, let's just do this. Oh, plus plus. Cool. You have a website, right? Like a cool website. And then a user clicks on a link, like /Google on there. What do you think happens? Like they go on barnesandnoble.com and they click on a particular book. They want to see the details of one particular book. What should that do? What request, what route, what HTTP verb should be firing? A get to /books/ID, right? Perfect. This class actually, I might move you guys to Rails on Thursday. I'm getting it. Cool. Great. Very good. I click this route, right? It hits this route. It will look to see whether or not the route exists. If it does, what controller is it in? The controller will then see, hey, do I need any data from the database? So for example, right, I'm clicking on a book, right? And it's like, great, I need data for this one book, right? I don't know, the 1,000 Years War. I don't know. Cool. Is there a route to /books/4? It just happens to be the 4th book in my database. Yes, it's in my books controller. Cool. The books controller goes, great. What information do I need to send back to the user? Well, I actually need information about book with an ID of 4. So I'm going to use like a book.find in my database. The model, active record, will do book.find with ID 4. That gives me the object back from the database. Yes? No? Yes. Yeet? All right. The model will talk to the database, right? It comes back with book 4, and then it passes it back to the controller. The controller is like, great, I got this book 4, and let me send that book 4 with some HTML back to the user and then the user sees the details for book 4. That's how this whole thing is happening. Is this like diagram kind of helpful?
Yeah. Yes.
Eat. All right, I'm gonna stop. This class does not like that.
Just gotta look it up.
For shizzle?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Oh,
Better and worse.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Throwback, Lil John. No, we're killing that immediately. All right. Actually, you know what? A lot of this will make more sense after we write some code. So let's do that. I'm gonna walk you through. Do you guys want a break? I love that. I love that it feels like that. Yeah, we're gonna go into like 2-hour lectures, and I'm like, cool. You guys want a break? My feet hurt. Like, yeah, we just started. I'm like, did we though? Did we? All right, cool. Let's actually look at the rest of this app. We'll dissect it. I'll explain what's going on in each one fairly quickly, and then we'll write some Sinatra code. Cool. So the first thing is something called an adapter. You will learn this pattern. You won't be writing too much of it, but it is a very common pattern in production. And that is I'm simply going to make a request to a URL. So I'm going to hit the Google API, specifically looking for a particular book. I have a reader of author. It initializes passing in the author, and the author will be what comes out of this method called author sanitizer. So this author sanitizer takes in an author, and all it does is it removes any extra white space and replaces it with like an empty string. Cool. So if I type in someone like Stephen space King, it'll just put Stephen King. Right? And then it also downcases because like smart people will like put proper nouns and like capitalize the S and capitalize the K. And then what happens when you run a query?
Not found.
Yeah, like SQL is like pretty specific. It's just like, oh, you wanted Stephen King? Great, listen, sorry, it's not there. I'm like, oh, but I know it is. I'm like, you spelled it with a capital S though, so no thanks. All right. Either way, it will run something called fetch books. Does anyone know what REST client is?
The API to get the information.
Very technical. But yes, it is the API thingy.
I mean, to get the string of hash, the hash in a string format of the website.
Close. So REST client is just a gem, and it allows you to make network requests with Ruby. So all I'm doing is I'm going to make a GET request, powerful, to the author URL, which is here. And then it's going to parse the JSON. Don't worry what that means right now, but the bottom line is I'm making a network request to this URL, and then I'm going to get the data back. All right, that's going to be in the books. For each of the books, there's a key of items, just like Hashkeball had a key of like players and teams. And then I'm just going to make a brand new book with the author, title, and snippet according to the data that comes back. All right. So really what I should see once this is all said and done is I can check my rake console. And then I can simply go book.first. And then I will see ID 1, author, title, and then this short snippet. That's all it's doing. Word. Okay, don't like that one either. Got it. I'll find something. Cool. This is where we're going to write a majority of our code. Here we have in our model just this book class. And where is this inherit from? Powerful. Who liked making the dot select and the dot map and the dot each? That's right, nobody. Very good. Active record ++. Bless up to active record. All right, cool. Config, I just have my environment. This is just setting it up so I'm using SQLite as my database. My database here, look at this. Look familiar to you? A little migration action. All right, look at the schema. Boom. Pretty simple. I only have one model. There's no has many. There's no belongs to. It's just books. Huh?
That's refreshing.
Yeah. Powerful. All right. And then my seeds, all I'm doing is literally invoking this adapter with somebody named Madeline. I should have. Does anyone know what this is? Langle.
Like Ohio or something.
Okay. All right. I don't know who this person is. Yeah. And then I run .fetch books, which if you remember, .fetch books just actually makes all the books. Cool. All right, good deal. Now let's get into it. So, how do we start a Sinatra server? That's my favorite, right? It becomes like Rails server later, and it's just not as exciting. Me as like a great American, I like starting my server going shotgun. I'm like,
Passenger in the car.
huh?
Car passenger.
He was in New York.
Oh, I see. Yeah. If you want to call it that, that's fine. Yeah. You're like calling dibs on like the front passenger seat. Yeah,
Exactly.
I know.
That's more relatable.
Is it though? This is America. No, you're totally right. All right, cool. So let's go to localhost, right? And what was the port that localhost runs on? Right? V good. 9393. And I should see, interesting. Error at slash. Why would that be? Yeah. Cool. Ready? So it says there's no such file or directory appviewsindex.erb. Why would this happen?
Do we have an app page going?
There's no file appviewsindex.erb. That's like exactly correct. I'm like, all right, cool. So let me explain. Back in R, we don't need this. If you hit Command W, it just closes that tab. It's useful in Chrome as well, or if you have like a bunch of tabs in Atom. So if I go to my application controller, I have a get to slash. What is slash? Home, right? Because if you go to any website, right? Like let's say I'm not going to go to Bookface, like twitter.com, and I were to go, whoops, twitter.com/, what happens? I'm also logged in here? Oh my lord. I have no tweets. I wrote, I should probably pause the recording, but I created a April Fool's Twitter account. It's called Millennial Specific Problems. I was gonna write a lot of stuff, and then I got caught up doing my job, and then like preparing a lecture for you. So yeah, we could do that. Yeah. Oh, Alex likes Coffee Dad. You guys like Coffee Dad? Twitter / right? What happens? Oh, it just goes to Twitter. Huh, powerful. All right. The idea is that the / followed by nothing is just like the root, the homepage. Modern browsers have since just like eliminated it because of user experience. Like that's just the way it looks nicer without it. Why would we need it? Let's just get rid of it. But in fact, a / followed by nothing is just literally the main domain. The main domain. Huh. Should I become a rapper?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, you guys are bad friends. The only real friend in the room said, no, don't do that. All right, cool. I'm going to do a get to /, right? And this is going to do something. And what it's going to do is it's simply going to render this ERB. What does ERB stand for? Yes, embedded Ruby, right? Embedded Ruby. And that's okay if you don't know or remember. It's like kind of not super important, but this is what it means. And all this is saying is there is going to be an embedded Ruby file called index. But where is that? Well, I set the views to the app views folder. So in my app, there must be a views folder. Oh, thank you. /views, very good. So in views, under app, let's collapse all these other nonsense. Cool. Is there a file called index in here?
No.
I wonder where that error is that says no file index.erb. This is where it is, by the way. I was being obnoxious. Index.erb. Cool. And in here, I'm just going to put a little h1 tag, and it's going to say this is the indexor. And I'm going to prove it. This should work. Cookies. Ridiculous. All right, now, what should I see now if I were to go make a get to /? What should I see? All right, this is the index page with like a little cookie, right? So, gone. Powerful. Look at that. See? It was real. It's there. Jamon. There's one. That's a potential contender. No? You don't like that? Okay, well, it's fine. I'm open to suggestion, right? Anytime you're ready. So, application controller. Cool. Does everyone understand what's going on here? If we go back to the README preview, all I did was I did a get to slash, right? Localhost 9393 slash. That was the route. Did that route exist?
Yes.
Yeah. What controller was it in? Powerful. Cool. And then, did I need anything from the model? Did I actually reference anything? Am I showing any specific data from my database? No. Cool. Great. And then I just simply returned, I responded with this ERB file. And that was it. Cool. Is this dynamic or static? Why?
Because you always get the cookie.
Right. There's nothing changing here. No matter what I do to my database or anything, this website will never change. Cool. So let's do this. Back in our README, we talked about seeing something like all the books. Right? Cool. I want to see all the books. So if I were to go to, I don't know, slash all the books, what would happen?
Error.
What kind of error, though? Sinatra doesn't know this, did he? This is like a routing error. This is saying that the route doesn't exist. Try this. Wow. In my application controller, I need a get to slash all the books. This matches directly here. So it's saying that this route doesn't exist. So it's giving me an error. So I probably need to make this route. Let me do that. In my application controller, I probably want to do what? Get. You sure? And not like post or patch or anything? Very good, yes. Get to slash what? All the books. Very good. And that's going to do something. Cool. Do I need anything from my database to show all of the books?
Yes.
I do, right? I need to get all the books, right? Yeah. It's just like this half was like yes, and this half was nothing. So I was like, okay. And that's okay, right? So using the powerful active record, how can I get all the books? Cool. Now, I need to send back some data. I need to send the response back. Because remember, let's follow this. Let's follow this. I just created the route. I'm in the controller now. I know that I need something from the model. I pulled it from the database using the .all as a query. And now I'm passing it back to the controller. The controller needs to be able to send it into the view. So inside here, right, I have another ERB file. And that's going to be called what? What would you like to call all of the books?
All books.
Right, great. Them books, though, right? Cool. Powerful. What's going to happen now?
Error.
Yes, very good. What's the error?
No file found.
Let's find out. Wow. Error at slash all the books. No such file or directory, thembooksdo.erb. Wow. And where can I find that file? Where should it be? At views, right? So I'm just going to make something called thembooksdo.erb. Here's the weird thing, right? Like, all the books, sire, slash madame. Cool. This is a very fancy book place, right? Like tea, crumpets, monocles, the whole works. How do I have access to all the books? Like, what variable do I have? Let's check. Oh, I see. I'm going to just do a little b equals book.all. Can I access b inside the view page just like this? No. So the way Sinatra works, Rails will work exactly the same way. is that in order to pass data from the controller into the view, I need to do this. Boop. Oh. Supplies, right? Thank you. It's just at books. If I make the instance variable, the view page will now have access to that data. Cool? This is just Sinatra magic. If you really want to know how it works, I can talk to you offline. It's kind of like, it's actually really complicated. But you can also dig into the source code. All right? Short summary, this is a class. This route will instantiate a new class, which will then have an instance variable. And inside this ERB, you're passing the instance variable over into the view. Cool? So, great. Now I have access. So I could do something like at books, right? Because I have access to it, right? So at books is how many books? 1, 2, 3. I like babysitting my niece. I watch some Sesame Street. Thank you. Thank you. Dot each, right? Remember now. Do with the book block, B for book. Go end. That's weird. This doesn't highlight. Because I know it's Ruby, but this ERB file is technically like embedded Ruby. It's really HTML. You see how this HTML highlights? If I were to put like a P tag, it'll highlight. That's because it's expecting HTML. But I'm allowed to write some Ruby in there. And this right here, it looked like a Ruby. So if I add what are known as, yes, very good, yes, ERB tags, I'm allowed to write Ruby. I'm sorry. Yeah, no worries. Okay, cool. All right, we'll just reel it back. Cool. I'm always jealous when I walk by your computers because like the font is small and you can see a lot of code. But I always have to lecture like this. Imagine seeing like 20 lines of code in all your files. You're like, I can't code like this. But either way, so what about this end? It looked like a Ruby, right? So I want to explain something. There is a difference between this. What do you guys call this, right? So some people call them squids. Some people call them carrots. I call them ice cream cones.
Script tags.
On this side.
They're not script tags, so I'm definitely going to veto that. They're bird.
Looks like a woodpecker. Woodpecker's lips.
Woodpecker lips. Okay, very good. All right. Either way, whatever you decide to call them, right? Figure it out. I will be referring to them as ice cream cones. So whenever you hear that, this is just what I'm referring to, right? I'm trying to embed Ruby. Yeah.
How did you do it on the keyboard?
Okay. Of course. Shortcuts. Never fails. If you put -tab, it will build this. If you put =tab, it will build this.
Makes no sense.
Right? It's an ERB file, so there are certain things that your IDE, like Atom, Sublime, VS Code, will automatically have built in. You will not have this built in, which is bloop, 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 bloop. Right? You will have to download a package. So there's things inside your IDE that can like actually add some additional functionality, and you can soup it up. If you hit Command, comma, this is a very common shortcut for a lot of applications that open up the options. If you don't have this, you can always go Atom, Preferences, and it'll open up this. You'll hit Install, and then you'll look for something called Rails Snippets. And I think it's this one. It only has 90-something thousand downloads, but it's pretty good. All right? There's a lot of cool things that you'll use this for, but you can entirely get away without them. Cool? All right. So if you do download Rails snippets, restart your Atom after you install it, and you hit Command-Shift period, and then you hit period again, and it'll cycle through what's available. So let me explain what the difference is. This without the equal sign means it will execute this Ruby, but not display. If it has the equal sign, it will simply execute the Ruby. Do I want to display the object, or do I want to display something else? All right, like the title, right? Something like that. And if you do this, that means that you're writing commented Ruby, right? Like this is a comment.
But you could like comment to HTML though.
Yeah, you can also write comment to HTML in this and just get ridiculous, right? Like, cool,
Is there a shortcut?
powerful. Yeah, I think if you just highlight some HTML, like a p tag, and then you just hit Command/. Yeah. You can do that like any Ruby file. If you highlight anything, it's just Command/. Cool. Gone. Y'all need that? I don't even know no old James. Gone. All right. Does anyone know that reference?
No.
Yo, my entire time I've been teaching here for 9 months, not one person has gotten it. It's from Half Baked. It's like the opening scene where they're all hanging out, eating ice cream. For those that know what the movie's about. It's about like cigarettes that make you like really hungry, and friendship. Anyways, yeah, they're all hanging out with this person. They're telling a story about some guy named Old James, and then they're thinking back to like, wait, I don't even know no Old James, and he was like gone, and the guy just like disappears from the scene. All right, anyway, so I have access again as a refresher. What is at books here? It is a yeah, right. So a lot of you said the right answer, but again, just get into the habit and practice of trying to speak technically and the whole thing. So this is an instance variable, right, that is coming from the controller that is actually a reference to all the books. Cool?
Cool. Yes. Cool.
Hey. All right. So let's see what comes up. All right. How would I actually hit this route? Where would I want to go? What would I do? What would I put in the browser to get? Oh, okay. Very good. So if I go back here, power. All right, that's not a good user experience, so let's fix that up. Let's go here, make another just like a unordered list. Let's close that Bad Johnson out. And for each one of these, let's make a list item. 5 stars. 5 stars. Cool? So let's do this. Instead of li tags, what can we do? Can we wrap this whole thing in an anchor tag?
Let's try it.
Huh. All right, let's just try it. Ready? Anchor tag. Cool. And then I messed up last time. It's href. And then I close the anchor tag. Where should this go? Slash some route, right? Whatever that route is. Cool. Let's go back and take a look. They're all links. Look at this. Beauty. If I click it, where do I go? I go to some route. But do I have that route though? Does that exist? Terrible. But do you understand this error? Errors are your friend. You know, when you first start coding, you're like, oh my god, an error, it's bad. You're like, no, please tell me what's wrong. It's when it fails silently. You're just like, why are you failing? Until like, those are the worst. All right, so Java does that, yeah. All right, cool. So back to my application controller, right? I want to explain something to you, and this is kind of where it gets a bit trickier, and that is this. Oh, I can't do this. I'm sorry. For those in the back, you're just gonna have to suffer. If I want to view the information on a particular book, the RESTful route for this is known as the show page. This is the show page. The details on one particular book, right? If I want to see all of them, this is called the index. I don't tell you to memorize things very often. It's just that you will do this so often, it becomes part of your memory. But there are a lot. So if I want to create a new book, right? First, I do a get to books new. A get to books new, right, displays the form, but this is actually what is known as the new route. It just displays this new form. Once I get the data and I submit it to the server and I create this book, This is the create route. So far we've talked about 4. Show, index, new, and create. As you've probably imagined, this is called the edit. This is called the update action. And then this is the delete. That accounts for how many routes? The 7 RESTful routes, right? So yes, there are 4 CRUD actions: create, read, update, and destroy. I just want to wake some of you guys up. But there are 7 RESTful routes. Are there any questions as to how I got 7 from 4? By a show of hands, who understands how I got 7 from 4? Yes, very good. I did. I added 3, right? Because there's like 2 different reads, right? There's like an index and a show. It's kind of like I'm reading something in 2 different ways. Just to create something for the C, there's how many routes? And then just to update something, how many routes? So there's 2 reads, right? There's 2 creations, there's 2 updates, that's 6. And then delete, right? So 7. It's odd, but it's all right. Are we all right this? Right, 7 RESTful routes, what REST stands for, convention over configuration. So far, so good?
Yeah.
Hey. All right, cool. So let's actually make a couple changes. Instead of this, let's actually use what we wrote and said that this is the right answer. And that is, I want to view all the books and I want to show one particular book. So we talked about this being the route. I'm sorry, we talked about this being the route and this being the HTTP verb. This being the route, this being the HTTP verb. So let's change that. I can do a get to, what was the route for all of the books? All right, slash books, be good. All right, here the convention is just going to be what the RESTful route is, and this is going to be called index. Cool. So if I do get to slash books, I'm going to render something called the index, and that's where that comes from. It's just following RESTful convention. All right. The next thing is, following RESTful convention, I want to do the show page. Right? This is just going to be the index. Shows me all them books though. Then the show page, right? What is the route for this show page?
/books/ID.
Yeah. Does anyone disagree? Does anyone agree?
Yes.
You make colon ID?
You get 1 book. Person make 1 book?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Bet. So we'll do a get to slash books slash ID, right? And that's going to do something, right? What is that going to do? Well, let's think. Bloop. I've got all this. Cool. I've now created the route. What controller are we in? Application controller. Cool. And then, whoops. Do I need anything from the model? Do I need anything from the database when I'm referring to specifically an individual book?
Yeah.
Cool. Right. So again, what do I need from the model and what is my response? This is kind of like the 2 things you always have to ask yourself inside the controller, because that's the go-between in the MVC. Talks to the model and sends back the view or a response. So in this model, what do I need? I need some sort of book, and that is going to be what? How do I find and query for this book?
Find book based on ID was entered.
Right, right.
Is, book.com.
Based on the ID. Cool. So before we get to any of this, let's do this. Let's do a binding pry right here. And let's just hit the route and see what's going on. So how do I get to this route? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not, trying to trick you. So let's see here. Localhost/books slash some ID, right? Does anyone have a favorite number?
But technically, it can be anything, basically.
Yeah.
We can put wherever.
12? 12 is your favorite number?
Well,
That's the first I've heard of it, and we're going to go with that. Sold. If I go to book/12, you'll notice this is hanging over here. That probably means that I'm in the binding. Powerful. Right? So the first thing I want to check to see is what came through on my parameters. You always want to check your parameters because this is kind of the data that's relevant and that's important. So my params, I have something called ID12, which is weird because I didn't send that anywhere. So where is ID and 12 coming from? Where do you think ID and 12 could possibly be coming from? Interesting. Okay. Okay. If I just check my params at a key of ID, what should I get? Wow. Amazing. Can I do book.find with 12?
yeah.
All right. I'm going to blow your mind. Ready? What is also technically 12? Wow. That shouldn't have blown your mind. That was just me being stupid. But yeah, that's how you can use params, right? So let's figure out and explore what's going on. If, however, instead of books 12, I put books Chris Metzger is the best, obviously, and I hit enter, and I see this hang, I just made a GET request to where? I made a GET request to /books/Chris is the best. Huh. Hit this again. Interesting. What are my params? Wow. The ID is now Chris Metzger is the best. So whatever I wind up typing in here, anything I type in will come across as params if I use this semicolon notation. It's taking in like any value. And it's saying that whatever I type in will point to ID as the key. So let's take this one step further. If I were to change this and not ID, and I would put it's your boy. Let's see. If I were to say chef RD, and I hit this route, a book/chef RD, what happens to my params? Right, so if I go params, I should see, let me just clear this out so people can see it. I get, it's your boy, Chef RD. Cool? It like took a while to like think through actually. So thank you for laughing. Ready? Whatever I put in here will be the key in my params. And then ultimately whatever I type in here will be the value. Does that make sense? So that's why we use ID here, because I want that to be the key, so I can reference it in my params. And then naturally, I want to use like a real ID in here, like 12. All right? So let me bang out of that. Let me hit books 12. Check my params again, and I have ID 12. So any questions as to like how this params is being formed?
So that colon, that's like a reserved word when we're writing this, writing in sinatra.
It's not a reserved word. The colon is a namespace, and it allows you to interpolate any data in there.
So it's basically like an argument. Takes in that as an argument.
Yeah, you can think of it that way. It takes in as an argument. Cool. Awesome. So, you guys want a break, or we just get started?
Just get started.
You guys want a break, or I mean, I only got like 5 minutes left to be honest with you.
You want a break? Why would you break? Do you need a break?
No, it's just sometimes I see that the class just stops. How do I phrase this? Because I'm being recorded. Participating at a level of full responsiveness. You focused? Good? You ready? Here we go. And so the tiger. Great. Okay, so we know that here, based on the params, do I have access to this ID? I can do something like a book equal book.find with the params. Oops, that didn't look good. Params at a key of ID, right? If I change this to, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not as creative as I think I am. This would still work, right? Because the keys are coming across the same. But that's just a terrible user experience. That doesn't look like good code. Great. So I have access, and I've got everything I needed from the model. What is my response? What should my response be? ERB with what RESTful action? Show. Cool. Do I have a file called show? So what would happen? Error, right? I don't have a file yet, so let me go make that. Show.erb. Are you like seeing this like pattern here form? It's pretty easy. Cool. All right, little H2 action for no reason, right? Show me the money. Yo, I got you, fam. Not you know what? Whatever. Let's do the right. Yo, money. Yeah, we'll leave it. I had a rough weekend. So, cool. Do I have access to book here?
No.
Oh wow, that was aggressive. And correct. How can I make it so that this book can be passed into the view? Right? Little email action.
Yes.
Okay. You guys didn't like that. That was a bad joke anyway. I need to make it an instance variable so I have access to it in the view. So in my ERB show, I have access to @book. And do I need to each this?
No. There's only one book.
Stop the madness. No pattern matching here. Right? It's just one book object, right? Book.find returns one object. So .each, I'm sorry, @book dot title, something like that. It didn't highlight. Why?
Ice cream cones.
Okay, because it looked like a Ruby, right? So I need to put something like, all right, I'm going to go into a slight tangent because it's important as web developers. But I can do this. I can also do @book.author. And let's take a look at what's going on here. I can do a label tag. And this is going to be for author. And this is just going to say author : cool. Let's just take a look at what happens. This show page. Let's take a look at this application controller. I like that? All right. How do I get to this show page? What route do I need to hit? /books/ some ID, right? Like 12. Powerful number. Show me the money. Title, and then author. Do you see a difference here in terms of how it's rendered? Let's actually do this. Let's do title, and then we will add a little break after this. Oops. Yeah. Cool. Do you see a difference about how these two are rendered? Title and author. See a difference? Okay, I cannot see a difference. I don't see a difference at all.
Okay.
I don't see a difference at all. Like how title and author are being rendered. I don't see a difference at all.
Space.
A bunch of Huh? Oh yeah, sorry.
Was it default set?
Sorry.
Oh, now
Yeah, that's my fault. That's my fault. Do you see a difference now?
No.
And I will have to say, I'm impressed because yeah, like little things like that in code make a huge difference. So 100% my bad, and I lost the point I was trying to make. No, I'm just kidding. If I were to go to elements, and I were to take a look, you see this title? It's just like nebulous string in the middle of nowhere. But this is inside a label. If you are building a production-grade application, you will have to make sure that your website becomes globally accessible to as many people as possible. Without this label tag, screen readers will not be able to determine what this is. So even though visually on the page they look the same, you're going to want to try to include label tags for as many things as possible as you're trying to create labels for things. So it's part of like 508 accessibility compliancy requirements as required by the government, but just so we kind of went into this like important aside as web developers. Cool. So just because it looks right on the page doesn't necessarily mean it's right, but we'll teach you best practices here. So you should be adding labels, label tags. All right. So powerful. All right. Ugh. Speaking of which, let's
Can I
get.
see book 30?
You want to see book 30? Sure. Let's get out of this trash. Little label action, and this is for title, and this is at book.title. Huh? Why didn't this highlight?
No, it looks like Ruby.
You can say it if you want to. All right. That's okay. This here, right, is just going to be for the title. All right. And boom, there you go. Right? They look the same, but now the accessibility requirements are met. Cool. If you're ever curious, you can always download. Ooh, I don't have it here. I don't have it here. It's called Axe. This is pretty important to look up. Axe accessibility. This is a Chrome developer tool, and it'll tell you like everything about your website, whether or not it's compliant for accessibility. And this is just to upgrade you to the next level. All right. Right. Any questions on how we were able to create? You see what happens when the code's just too big? Ugh. All right. This right here, and this right here. Any questions on just index and show? That's kind of like the goal for this lecture. And then I'm going to review the SWOBOTs and to make sure that we hit all the points. All right. What would happen now? Right. I think I saw some hands. So I'll answer those first.
Oh, you're gonna post this?
Yeah, I'm going to post the lecture video in the code. All your lectures will be posted. Right? You'll literally just go to learn.co, and then you know where your assignments are and everything. If you ever scroll to the bottom, you see the calendar. If you scroll past that, all your code, all your lecture video, all the notes, they're there. You had a question?
Would the home and the slash books point to the same route?
Exactly. Yeah. So if I were to go to get to slash home, this will still render index, right?
They just won't pull in.
Yes. I am not asking anything from the model here. However, inside my index, oh, whoops. What the? Did I just delete all that code?
Command Z.
Where did it go? Oh, that's right. It was all them books, though. That's what it was.
Oh,
Embarrassing. All right, let's pull that in here. Oops. Cool. Ready? Because I changed this from like all them books to index. Great. What would happen when this request hits?
it's gonna create a bunch of lists with no information.
Does @books exist when I go here?
No.
No. So what error should I see?
I need to find that book. Local variable.
Is it a route error?
No.
Does the route exist?
Yes.
Cool. Does the instance variable exist? Undefined method each for nil class, which would make sense because @books must be nil. However, if I were to go /books, works like a champ. And it's because these requests do not know about each other. We're talking about Ruby scope. This is just a method, and this is just a method. And this instance variable is not available here. So if I were to do / and it renders index, it doesn't have access to @books. But if I were to go to /books and it renders the index, then /books will work.
Interesting. So theoretically, you can do it on a different database or something like that.
Yeah.
Just have it run through the same.
That is correct. So, yeah,
Wait, can you everything you put in here is in the class, right? Class.
Ja.
Yeah. But I thought the whole point of instance variables is that it could transverse between methods, methods within the class itself.
According to Ruby scope, if something is defined inside here, I will not have access to it here. If I had some sort of like initialize, then the whole instance will have access to it everywhere. But I'm actually creating it in this method.
Oh.
And then it goes away. It's a good question. Scope. All right, cool. I have like 2 strong supporters. That's all I need. Start a revolution. All right, so let's go back to Swobots, and then we'll just kind of wrap up. Is that fair? Great. So, are you more comfortable in understanding this MVC pattern, this architecture, where the model has the data, the controller will ask the model for it, and then pass it to the view with a instance variable? I failed. That made sense though, right?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. All right. Whew. Cool. All right. So, do you understand how like Sinatra is working, right? Inside the controller, I will define the route. When I hit the route, cool. When I hit the route, it looks inside the controller. Does that route exist? If it does, it talks to the model and it sends a response. And that's really it. And then like you can kind of go through. Let's actually finish this one last thing. And that is in the index, right? Let's do this. Do I want to link it to some route? What can I link it to?
Book ID.
/book/. Do I have access to the ID here? You sure? Let's try this. That looked weird. Let's do this instead. Because guess what this is?
HTML.
It looked like a Ruby. So this will give me /book/ whatever that ID is. Let's play a little bit. Ready? Cool. Can I go to this, which will give me to book/. Wow, what a powerful experience. Let's go to walking on water. I'm walking on sunshine. Wow. Wowza. All right, we're starting to feel more comfortable about how Sinatra works?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Little getting crunk. Cool. Is everyone comfortable over this convention over configuration? At least in a vague sense of how helpful it is. Rather than like all these routes like, oh, I want to see these books. Let me just make a route to /your boy. You're like, why would you do that? Just make it /books. You're looking at all the books. Come on, dog. All right, this like convention. And like REST is what the convention is. And so cool. We implemented one model. It inherits from active record. And so the powerful part about it is that I can do @books.title, @books.author, @books.description, and I will have access to that information in my view files now. So what we just built, dynamic or static? Dynamic. Cool. So we implemented just one controller using the application controller, and it handled a couple of different routes, right? We did the /, we did the index, and we did the show. Demonstrate how the params hash will change based on how we write the routes. Are you familiar with this? Like the ID and how the /:ID is the key, and then whatever you type in the route will be the value. Are there any questions on that? Yeah?
Kind of. The
Sure.
key was a string, but our input was a integer, and it still was able to search for the ID even though it was a string.
Got it. Okay, yes.
Yeah.
That's a very good question. So if you recall, when I did find, right, params with the key of ID, we typed in a number. This comes across as a string. So when you do find, right, with a string of 7, active record's so powerful. Bless up to active record. It does something called the indifferent hash, and that is if it'll take a string, and if the string is a number, it'll just be like cool, and it'll just like convert to a number for you. It's amazing. Bless up. All right, just like I can in fact do this. All right, params at a key of ID as a string, or this. If you really study the language, the symbol just has a quicker lookup time as a data structure, but that's really not important for you to know right now. Cool. So either one will work. Just whichever one you're more familiar with. Start to use this symbol as it is more efficient and it's best practice. Cool. But both will work. So if I see it on your code challenge or anything, I'm just like, and then just keep going. Cool. But you should be using the symbol. Awesome. All right. We talked about this like ERB template. and how we can get data from the controller, which actually talks to the model, and then actually show it in the view. We talked about the file structure in Sinatra, and then we talked about the connection between REST and CRUD. Right? So how many actions are in CRUD?
4.
And then how many RESTful routes are there?
7.
Cool. I think that about covers it. Are there any questions? What's up?
Quick question about the params. So ID is just one key. So I'm guessing you can put as many keys as you want in that one line.
Yes. The question is like params at a key of ID just happens to be one parameter. Can you put multiple parameters? Yeah, you will start to see a lot of parameters come through. And so you'll want to pull out the one that you want.
Okay.
Very good. Are there any more questions? All right. Thanks so much for your time today.